Hello, readers, and welcome back to Reading in the Middle, the podcast where we talk about middle grade books, big feelings, and the very real truth that making friends is somehow harder than learning long division. Today's guest is Lance Rubin, author of the hilarious new middle grade novel, Zed Moonstein Makes a Friend. And if you've ever thought, wow, everyone else seems to know how to make friends except me, congratulations, this book sees you. Zed Moonstein is a sixth grader who is very smart, very funny, and very convinced that he is absolutely terrible at making friends. He lives in a high-tech town where everything is optimized, monitored, and possibly judging you, even the alarm clock. Between navigating middle school, worrying about losing his best friend, and discovering a mysterious app that promises to solve friendship entirely, Zed's story is laugh-out-loud funny and deeply relatable. I'm excited to talk with Lance about his writing awkward kids with big hearts, friendship jealousies, futuristic tech gone a little too far, and why middle school might be the most dramatic place on earth. Let's jump in. Lance, hi. Welcome to Reading in the Middle. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Awesome. So, Lance, your new middle grade novel, Zed Moonstein Makes a Friend, is super funny, high tech, and so relatable. And now I always mention that because if I were a middle school person, and which I used to be,
Yes, me too.
I would be able to say yes, very relatable. And it's relatable for anyone who has felt unsure about friendships, me
Yep.
included.
Me too.
And Zed is one of those characters who walks right off the page, anxious, imaginative, dramatic, in the best ways, right?
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yes, and he's convinced that he's bad at making friends, even though his heart says otherwise. And his story shows how complicated it can be, how messy it can be, and how beautiful middle school friendships really are. And I'm so excited to talk to you about this today.
Thank you. I love the way you articulate all that. Yeah, that's spot on, and why I wrote the book and the things I feel strongly about.
And now, Zed opens the book by saying, "I'm bad at making friends." I love that.
Yeah.
That hooked me. That really did hook me. I'm bad at making friends. I'm like, what? It is such a vulnerable way to begin a story.
Totally. I'm so glad.
What made you want to center a character who leads with his deepest insecurity?
Well, there were many drafts of this book, and it had started as something else, but it always featured Zed, who was a kid, anxious and sensitive. And that's the kind of kid I was, and it's the kind of kids I have. I'm the parent of an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old who share some of these qualities too. So I was like, I know I want Zed to be that. And originally the book was I just wanted to write a book that takes place in a weird town. I always love books like Sideways Stories from Wayside School by Louis Sacker. Books with just kind of like a big hearts, but funny, weird things happening. And that was the kind of origin of Zed Moonstein, was just like, it's going to be this character, Zed, anxious kid, weird things are happening. So actually, originally, the first pages I wrote of what became this book, the weird thing wasn't an AI best friend. It was Zed wakes up and he gets out of bed in the morning. He's going to get dressed for school, and he opens his drawer to get out a shirt and pants, and there are no pants in the drawer. And he looks in the bottom drawer, no pants. It's all shorts. And he goes in his closet. There's no pants. And then he goes to his sister, and she's like, I have pants, and his parents have pants. And then he goes to school, and his best friend, she doesn't have pants either. So it was this weird thing that ultimately didn't work for a book, or at least I didn't have enough there. But that was the original thought. Kid with anxiety, put him in these weird situations. Let's see how he's going to cope and deal with the weirdness. Eventually, of course, it evolved, and I kind of wanted to address the theme of tech in this moment.
Mhm.
And once I had the idea of, what's an interesting app? Maybe it's a friendship app, because that's such a big part of this age, the middle grade reading age, where friendship dynamics are changing and it's getting a little trickier. Who you're trying to figure out who you are, what's your thing, what's your identity. And so once I knew all that, I was like, well, I think Zed's anxious. And I think it was always a part of him that he might struggle with friendship. But then I really decided to foreground that once it's like, okay, this is a story about a best friend app, kid dealing with friendship issues in the middle grade years. And it seemed appropriate that he would start out, he's bad at making friends. And the one friend he was able to make that was his kind of rock through third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. Now he started the story in sixth grade. When that friend, Rishti, is starting to drift away, what is he going to do? Where does that leave Zed? And I think it's a very relatable story for all of us, all ages. These moments where you have your person and maybe, you're not as close as you used to be. And where does that leave you?
Yeah, I got a little triggered.
Yeah.
It took me back. It took me back to sixth grade. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
took me back.
Yes.
But I was able to calm down.
That's good. That's good. I wasn't trying to put you through that, but that's what books do. Allows us to process these sixth grade memories we've been suppressing all these years.
Yeah, and that was a long time ago anyway. So it was just, but in a good way too. It was a balance.
Good. I'm glad. That's the reading experience I hope for.
Oh, definitely. And, funny, anxious, heartfelt, you captured how sixth graders think without talking down to them.
Thanks.
How did his voice develop for you?
I guess the same way all my characters develop, you're just trying to I used to be an actor. And so when I'm writing first person, especially, you're just trying to inhabit the character. And, it takes a lot of drafts to get where it is in the book you read, but just trying to be honest within what that experience is. And like you said, it's a very vulnerable thing to be like, I'm bad at making friends, but I feel like that's what makes for a compelling book. That's what's going to, find those young readers or adult readers who are like, yeah, that's hard for me too. Like, where's this story gone? Like, I want to be with this character because maybe I'm going to work through some of my own, issues with friendships.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's nothing more complex than that. It's really just trying to be with the character, honor the character, and avoid falling into tropes of like, well, this is what's in all the middle grade books I read, or this is, my idea of what a 12-year-old kid is, and just try and go back to my time as a 12-year-old, but also I have an almost 12-year-old son, so I can, look at his experience and that grounds the writing a little bit too, just trying to find something that feels grounded and honest.
I agree. And with Rishti,
Yes.
Rishti is the heartbeat of Zed's world.
Yes.
Because their friendship is like real silly and rooted in real comfort. What inspired their dynamic, and how did you build a friendship? That feels lived in and full of history.
Yes. Well, I'm glad it landed that way for you. And I think the same thing, drawing on some of my best friendships over the years, over my lifetime, often humor is like the biggest foundation block in my best friendships. I know that's not necessarily true for everybody. And of course, there's so much more to it than that. But humor being this shared sensibility, you're sharing kind of a viewpoint on the world and connecting over that, and maybe laughing together at things that not everyone in your class does laugh at. And that kind of bonds you further, because it's like, oh, we see this funny thing happening and other people don't. And that is kind of just strengthening the bond. So I knew it was going to be a relationship based on humor, but then also just being there for each other and seeing each other as they are. And I feel like Zed Zed describes right from the beginning of the book how he tried to make a friend in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and just the ways it went wrong and it didn't happen. And he, was kind of checking out this person and be like, oh, I think this could be a friend. And then he approaches them and it just goes all wrong. So when Rishti collides with him during recess, during a game of freeze tag, I believe it's during a game of freeze tag. As just things change in draft to draft, but I think that's where it landed. And then she instantly he's like, oh no, we bumped into each other. And maybe she's hurt, but she's instantly like joking around like, my back. And they instantly connect over that. It's like, oh, okay. I loved the idea that it was this messy physical collision, which of course is one of the themes of the book. This idea of like the digital world, everything comes easy, everything is smooth, and wanting all of us to move toward the mess a little bit more and not be so focused on let's make everything more convenient and as easy as possible. There's things we lose in that. So when Rishti and Zed collided in third grade and their friendship was literally sparked from that, that felt important to me, that that the messiness was a part of their origin story. And I think I'll leave my answer there.
Well, it's great. And then we meet Kaz. The viral video, the inside jokes, the matching hair color. Zed feels pushed out in real time. What did you want young readers to understand about jealousy and change in friendship? Because I told you, I got triggered.
Yes, no, so much. I mean, and again, as adults, we all deal with this. We're on Instagram, we're seeing our friends hanging out with other friends. And even though we know we're adults and we're mature, we're like, oh, they didn't invite me to that. But, oh, maybe it just happened. You're trying to justify in your head, well, why how did they end up hanging out? And, trying to rationalize it. So, yes, what you're talking about is that Zed's best friend, Rishti, is in all of her sixth grade classes with Kaz Rojas, who suddenly becomes a good friend to Rishti. And this is very threatening to Zed, who is not in Rishti's classes in middle school. So he's not really getting to see her much during the school day. And when the book starts and he comes back from winter break, Rishti and Kaz have made this video together, which is like a real special bonding thing they've had. And not only that, but their video is they put it on, the kind of TikTok equivalent, monovid, and it's getting some attention and likes. And so Zed sees early on in the book Rishti and Kaz bonding over this thing. Oh, we both dyed our hair red and we made a video of it and people love it. And that's a really devastating devastating thing. And I just I wanted to be there with young readers and kind of be like, hey, like I am an adult, but I'm going through this and I understand this and I want to write a scene. I want to write a character arc where this is happening because it's inevitable. We're all going through it, and the digital age makes it all the more likely it's happening in our face maybe every minute or hour of the day if we're not mindful. So I just wanted to go into that devastating feeling. And I also, from a story perspective, Zed has to be motivated to really want to get this secret app called MonoFriend, which is a best friend AI app. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that would motivate any of us. When you're your best friend in the world, you suddenly see them doing something very bonding with someone else. And you're like, oh, I guess, do I still even factor in her mind anymore? Now I'm the B friend instead of the A friend. It's like, it's very, sad thing to process.
It is. And I'm just saying, Kaz is not the villain, and she's actually awesome because she's confident, she's creative and funny. How did you approach writing tension without making any kid the bad guy?
That's an excellent question. I mean, I think with all my characters, just trying to write a dimensional character and always grounding in like, well, how would this go in real life? And these are middle schoolers, these are sixth graders, so at times Kaz maybe could she be reaching out to Zed more to see how he's doing, maybe, but like she's just kind of living her life. She's befriending Rishti. So I felt like exactly what you're saying, like Kaz, I don't want Kaz to be the villain. Kaz is just another middle schooler forming this new friendship with Rishti. She's, excited about the friendship and not necessarily taking stock of, well, what's Rishti's prior friendship history. How should I fit myself in? People don't necessarily do that. We're all kind of on our own journeys. And so Kaz is on her journey. From Zed's perspective, yes, Kaz is a villain just because by nature of being the new friend that's taking Rishti away from him. But yes, I definitely wanted to be conscious of not pushing Kaz into villain territory. It's only because we're with Zed and his perspective that we, think of her as a villain at all. Because I agree, she's not. She brings a confidence. She's, very invigorated by the friendship with Rishti, and they're making these videos and getting attention for them. It's like really exciting. And so, yeah. But I'm always, I think a lot of my books inevitably have, a character that is more antagonistic, but always try to ground them in human dimensions so that it's not just kind of a flat, this character's the bad guy.
And I like that, the dynamic of that in the story, because even as adults, we go through this too. So
for sure,
especially now with, like you mentioned, with social media. So happy they didn't have that.
Me too.
When I was growing up.
Me too. And, maybe we're taking steps toward helping future generations not have it either. Like Australia just banned social media.
I saw that.
Yeah, for 16 and under. And so I think we're slowly going to get there. And I think it's essential. These tools, there's a lot of great that comes from it, connecting to people you wouldn't necessarily, but it has to be regulated because there's also a lot of negative that comes from it, as we've seen in studies and in real life. Yeah. Experience.
I definitely agree with that. Tongue-tied. MonoTown.
Got it.
MonoTown is its own character.
Yeah.
Right. It's high tech. It's a high tech world where everything is branded and monitored, from buses to home assistants. What sparked the creation of this setting?
Thank you for asking. Yes, so MonoTown is essentially owned by this big tech company in the book, a fictional tech company called Monolith.
Is it fictional?
It bears a strong resemblance to many real life big tech companies. But yes, as I was writing the book, as I said, original drafts were not about tech, but this was circa 2019, 2020 that I started writing this. And I was just, really fascinated by and horrified by everything going on in tech. Even then, by the effects, as we're saying, it was having on teenage generations, on all of us, though, kind of screen addiction and the way it seemed like these corporations are just putting out products, being like, this is going to make life easier and more convenient and better, but not really taking into account what's in human beings' best interest. And so I thought, well, I really would love for young readers to be able to kind of think about some of this, because I see with my own kids, they just were born into a world where all of this is just, they take it for granted. This is what it is, like we have Alexas in our home and we talk to our Siris, and we have social media and we get on, whatever, instant messenger for kids or whatever, or YouTube for kids, all the apps. And it's just like, yeah, this is life. And I just want them to be able to take a step back and not necessarily be like, oh, this is bad, because it's not that simple, but to be like, well, this wasn't always life. And this is the result of corporations, trying to make money, and they are making money. They're making so much money, and that, they're not always looking out for us. So you have to look out for you and have to understand that Alexa's over there, but Alexa's listening to everything you say. And that doesn't have to be a threatening thing, but it's something to know and to be aware of. And so that was how, then I was like, oh, it's going to be about tech. It just seemed very interesting to me and exciting to write about a town that was, owned by one of these companies. And so then that really informed the setting, sometimes inspired by real life things. Like in this book, there's a monocube instead of Alexa or an Echo, whatever these things are called. And the monocube is voiced. There's a voice, Mary Beth will speak to you, and Mary Beth is very advanced, can have conversations with you.
She is nosy. She tracks everything.
She's really aware of everything. Nothing's going to get by her, and that's a little creepy, or a lot creepy. So yeah, it was really fun to play with and to kind of push it further than it currently exists in our world. But like I said, I started writing in 2019, And I was like, oh, a best friend app, that, when's that going to happen? 10 years from now, 15 years from now? And cut to just a few short years from when I started, and ChatGPT came out, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is very real, and I need to finish writing this book, because soon this book is going to be historical fiction instead of a vision of the near future. So yeah, it was really fun to play with, and I'm glad you clue in to the idea of MonoTown as a character, because I really feel that is true.
Yeah, and I was going to mention Mary Beth, because she is such a standout character in your world building. And then there's Project Sunshine, when and I hope this isn't a spoiler, but
That's
when
fine.
Zach hacks into his mom's files and discovers a
Yes.
mono friend app, the story shifts in such an exciting way. Where did the idea of a downloadable friend come from? Because you mentioned you're writing this in like 2019, 2020, and
Yeah.
I don't remember when ChatGPT or AI, all this started coming
Right.
out, but
ChatGPT really, I became aware that ChatGPT was like the real life version of what I'd already been writing in early 2023. So I think it was like late 2022, but then it really started to enter the news in 2023. And yeah, again, like I said, I once I realized I wanted to set this in a town owned by a tech company, I thought, okay, what's the app that Zed should find that's kind of would be interesting and compelling to write a whole book about? And after playing with some ideas that I thought were less good, I was like, oh, let's do something with friendship, because that is such a big part of being 12 years old. And so then I was like, oh, an app that's a best friend, and it will, you text back and forth with you. It knows you. It just looks in your phone and kind of gets a sense of who you are, and then can be the perfect friend for you. And so I wasn't calling it AI at that point, even though AI existed as a term then, but I was just thinking of it's an app that's a best friend. And then ChatGPT came out. I was like, oh, well, this is an AI best friend, just like ChatGPT. And then I kind of, made some tweaks in the story to kind of reflect our reality even more in this fictional universe I've created.
And also, the heart of the book asks a big question. Can friendship be automated? What do you hope readers think about when they see Zed wrestling with real connection versus convenient connection?
Yes. Well, I hope readers go on their own journey. I don't want to just spoon feed them what I'm hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
So I would hope readers are able to think about friendship in terms of AI and think like, yes, maybe AI can be a tool in these lonely moments. Maybe you want to feel seen by someone, and it can kind of, be somewhere for you to process your thoughts, like a diary that kind of talks back to you. But I would also just encourage readers that there's no substitute for real human being friends. And an AI friend that's going to agree with everything you say, never push back, never disagreement. You are right. You are right. You are right. Maybe there's some therapeutic benefits of that, but in the long run, I feel like that's not going to build the resilience you need. The mess of friendship, I feel like, is so wonderful. And when you have a disagreement with a friend, or you have pushback, that's only ideally going to make you stronger. Or if, you have this friendship and as happens at the beginning of the book with Zed and Rishti, you're starting to drift apart. So that can be a natural part of life too, but it's all beautiful for you to experience. I mean, I feel like so much of the tech and the AI is like, don't worry about the messy parts of life. Like, we'll skip that. Don't worry about going through the creative process you would need to draw a picture or write an essay. We'll do that for you. But that's what life is. So they're taking away. They're like, hey, we're trying to make money, so we're going to take away some of the vital parts of life, and we're going to pretend like we're doing you a favor, but we're actually doing you a grave disservice. And so, again, none of this is so cut and dry. There are going to be uses for AI tools. AI is going to do some amazing things, but in this realm of friendship, I'm very wary of it, and I would hope readers would think, very carefully about it too, and deeply about what that would mean to have an AI best friend.
Oh, they definitely will. And with so much humor too in the story, vulnerability,
beautifully. You have Zed's family that brings so much humor into the story, like the almost choking breakfast scene in there.
Yeah.
Annie's six friend video chat is chaotic and loving.
Yes.
How
Yes.
do you
Yes.
write families that feel both funny and emotionally grounded?
It always comes back to like looking for those specifics, right? Thinking about
Mm-hmm.
some of my real life relationships or other families I know, and maybe stealing details from that help ground it. Um, but yeah, I always want my books and the characters to be coming from a loving place as much as possible, and
Mm-hmm.
even when there are disagreements or kind of not seeing eye to eye, that there is love there. So I try to infuse the characters with that. And so there's Zed, there's his younger sister Annie, who is his antithesis as far as friendship. That's friendship comes so easy for her. Um, I think the line is, she once told Zed like, "Oh, making friends is easy. You just talk to someone and then play with them, and it's fine." I'm paraphrasing, but something that's like really infuriating for Zed to hear. It's like it's not that easy. And then Zed's mom actually works for Monolith, so I think there was interesting stuff there, both plot wise that Zed could then have access to some Monolith servers through her, but also that she is very invested in the mission of Monolith. And as the book progresses and some not great things happen with this app, Zed has to start thinking like, well, my mom wouldn't want this for me. Like, what does this mean to have someone actually? This is his mom's job to work in marketing for Monolith. So having to kind of negotiate that in his mind. And then Zed's dad used to be a teacher, but he's been replaced essentially by a monocube. And so he's now working for a rideshare service. And Monoride, is that what it's called? It's like you write these books and then the little details. I'm like, what? I've read this book like 8 or 9 times, but yeah, I think it's Monoride. And if it's not, I'm sorry, readers. I don't know what's in my own book. But he's working for a rideshare, ride like a Lyft or an Uber of MonoTown, and he's essentially trying to make it work in the gig economy. And anyway, so underneath all that, there's love, but also it's thematically felt important that every family member is kind of exploring a different aspect of what it means to live in this very big tech town.
Did you know that you were almost like writing like the future as well? I mean, scary.
Yeah, it is kind of freaky. And I guess it wasn't so hard to do because I was reading all the articles and knew kind of, I didn't anticipate a best friend app to be ready so soon. But
I know.
it just felt like, I started writing in late 2019. Then we went to the pandemic where everything just became like digital world on steroids, and just so heightened because we were all at home and on our screens even more. And so it just felt like, well, we're just going to keep going in this direction. I don't see what's going to stop this. And writing a book that I hope will be a small, tiny part of what will open minds and young minds so that we continue in the direction that we're hopefully and optimistically moving in right now, where people are like, this isn't great for society. I think we need to reassess how we're going about this. Like, this tech is not going away, but maybe we can, put some guardrails on how we're using it so that it's not sapping our humanity at the cost, so that all these companies can make trillions of dollars.
And be mindful too, and be able to filter out, the good and the bad.
Yes.
And to actually, just be informed about, what type of technology that we like we mentioned, have in our house.
Yes.
If you have an Alexa, put that thing on mute.
Right. Put it on mute. Alexa doesn't need to hear everything that's going on.
No, they don't have to hear me listening to reruns of Laverne and Shirley.
Exactly. Nice.
But if they do, that's okay. But yeah, and I want to ask you, what do you hope kids take away from Zed's story, especially the ones who feel shy and awkward or convinced that they're just bad at making friends?
Yes. Well, I hope they feel, first of all, they're not alone. I wrote this book because I've experienced many of these things all of us do at some point or other. So that would be thing one, just to go read a story, to laugh and be like, oh, I'm enjoying this main character he's has trouble making friends, but he's like brave and interesting. And, he's trying just like I'm trying. And he tries and fails and tries and fails. And that feels like important thing, number one. And number two is just, it's just the mess of it. I guess that ties into number one, but just to know that life can be messy. Because I think because we're surrounded by all these messages like make life easier and all these technical devices that make life like you don't have to go over there and pick a song, just shout across the room to Alexa, she'll play the song for you. We have all of these things that makes it seem like do what's easier. And I want kids to be like, no, it's messy and that's okay. You're not a failure. We're not striving for just perfection, easy life. That is not an accurate representation of what anyone's life is. And if it is what your life is, just easy, you're not going to be satisfied. You're going to be miserable because life is not supposed to be easy. Like that's how we grow. That's how we find fulfillment and satisfaction, by accomplishing things and doing things, whether that be doing something creative, making something, or connecting with a person and laughing together at something. That's one of the best feelings in the world. And I just want kids to know, if you have trouble making friends, like it's okay to kind of go into your screen and lean on your screen, but also maybe push yourself, as Zed does, to keep your eyes up and enough to see like, oh, maybe there is a friend who might, or there is a person who might be a potential friend, and you can find a way to reach out to them in a small way. It doesn't all have to happen at once, but maybe you just end up positioning yourself in the cafeteria so you're kind of near that friend, and you can like say one thing to them, and maybe they'll say something back. It's all a process. This is all a process. Friendship is not going to happen all at once. All of this won't happen at once, but I just want them to feel okay with the mess, and know that is not a bug, as they say, but a feature of being a human, being cool with the mess.
And also, too, with all the technology, everything making it easier for us, it's okay to slow down.
Yes.
It's okay to enjoy those moments. And I know I'm noticing, and listeners, you can't see this, but I noticed that you have albums behind you.
Yes.
And so and young people today are getting into vinyl.
Yes.
A lot of them are going back to VHS, which I don't understand why, but a lot of them are
just
going back.
Go with it.
Yes. And so maybe there is a chance in the future where young people will say, enough. Let's go back and just regroup, go back where it's a slower time.
Yes.
And not saying that technology is bad, but we can also, it like I mentioned, it can be a balance of it. It doesn't have to take over everything.
Yes. I think that's very smart. I love that you caught the records. I wasn't doing that intentionally, but yes, physical media and, having to take a record out of its sleeve or take a CD out of the plastic square it comes in and put it in the thing and make a choice. And it's not just an algorithm being like, maybe you like this, maybe you like this, maybe you like this. It's like, it's another act of agency in your life. Because I think that's another downside of this tech age, is like, we've given up all our agency. It's just like, algorithm, find it for me, find me the videos I'll like. I'll just sit here passive. And I feel like that's an underrated and overlooked part of the tech age. It's like we're so passive all the time, and then we don't know why we feel so anxious or lonely. It's like, because we're not getting to assert ourselves. And even a very small thing like looking at some records and be like, oh, what do I want to play today? I'll play this one, and you take it out and you put it and you listen to a complete album. And I start to sound like one of the characters in the book, Grandpa Jerry, who is Zed's grandpa, who's very much like anti-tech and anti all of it, is just like,
I'm glad you mentioned him.
Keep it simple. Yes. And I love that character, and it was a great way for me to voice all this, but it starts to sound a little bit like, oh my God, what this guy is such a grumpy old man. But I really believe in all this. And I think I'm so excited vinyl is getting big again, and even cassette tapes, like your VHS and cassette tapes too, because we didn't really know at the time, like when we were using all these things, like, we didn't know what it would be like for them to be gone. So, but in retrospect, it's like, well, that was simpler. It sounds kind of silly because a lot of things in the past were not better. Things are better now in many ways, but in this area, slowing it down, I think is something to strive for. And I write a newsletter called Slow Dopamine. So I love that you said that, which is, I write posts about my writing about creativity, but also about this, just like thinking about the tech age we live in and how do we get, some dopamine that's like slower. It's not the fast tap, tap, scroll, scroll, but just like putting on a record. Reading a book, obviously, is a wonderful form of slow releasing dopamine, because it all is set to such a fast pace for kids too. Thankfully, I know there are many kids are reading books because I go on school visits and they tell me, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness. But it's we got to hold tight to these long form experiences and these slow experiences because they really do make kids feel good, but it's hard to get them over the hump. I see this with my own kids of like doing it. Like, can you read now? And it's like, they're playing an iPad game or whatever. And once you put down the roadblocks, your brain is so like hopped up. It's like hard to be like, well, let me sit and like just read a book. And you have to kind of just like be very intentional then and be like, you have to sit and read now. Once they start, they're like, oh, I love this book. And they go. But like the guardrails, it's not the right word, but like the obstacles to the slower things are just getting bigger because we're comparing it to things that are faster and faster and faster. And it's hard, for our brains to be like, I don't want to do that. It's so slow. It's hard for our brains to remember how amazing it is.
Yeah. So. Can you imagine going back to rotary phones?
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about slow.
Yeah, really slow it down.
Dialing.
Yes. It's really funny you say that. Yeah. We'd encountered a rotary phone in this escape room we did. And I was like with my kids and some of my kids' friends, and it was part of the thing to like do a rotary for you to dial it, which I loved. And they're like, what's going on here? Dad, do this for me. It's like, no, you put your finger to the 3 and then you let it go. You put in the 4 and you let it go. And it was like, you're just like, wow, how do I work this thing?
Oh my goodness. I feel like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Talking about that. But yeah. And that's the key. And I want listeners, I want you to read this and enjoy it. And there's so much that's, you put into the book that is just great. It's a great read. And I just wanted to mention that to you, Lance, because it's just, bravo.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Annisha. No, I was so happy that you were down for me to come here and chat about it and that you were into the book. And it's so great to talk about it with you.
Yeah, I read it. I finished it. I read it like a split second. As soon as I got it, I was like, oh, this is my book. I was reading. I finished it. Okay, yeah. Lance.
Yeah.
Are you ready? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just going to say I was so delighted by how quickly you read it because I knew you had the book and then you were like, I read it. I was like, oh my God. Great.
Here comes our lightning round.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this is where I ask our guests lightning round questions, and whatever comes to mind, you give that answer. There's no right or wrong, but you just give me the answer.
Great.
Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. Question number 1. Are you more like Zed, an overthinker, or like Rishti? Jump right in.
Zed. 100% Zed. Easy one. Overthinker.
Monocube in your house, yes or absolutely not?
Absolutely not.
Favorite writing snack?
Ooh, good one. Probably salted roasted almonds. That's kind of a boring answer, but that's what it is right now.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
If you could instantly master one middle school talent, coding, stage crew, fencing, drawing comics, which would it be?
Oh, I love that. Drawing comics because I do a little doodling, but it's like very limited. I have like one cartoon guy I draw. It's just like, and that's it. And I would love to be able to actually map out entire comic strips.
Bold hair moment. Would you dye your hair like Rishti, and what color?
Oh my gosh. My kids and my wife would probably be horrified, but I would go for, yes, I would do dark purple. So, and my hair is dark brown. So it wouldn't be like, you'd kind of look and you have to look twice. Like, did he dye his hair? Like, oh yeah, it's purple. It's subtle.
Is it really dyed? Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to shock your family too much, right?
No. Just ease in.
What app would you invent that kids would love and parents might not?
Oh, I think it would be an app. You know, right now I'm like doing school visits and encouraging kids like to access their creativity. So, and I obviously that's best done without a screen, I think, but screens can be a good tool to like, you know, unlock the creativity. So maybe it would be some kind of like creativity explosion app, and like you open it and it just like gives you all these different things to do, almost like a lightning round, like we're doing right now. But it might involve them being kind of noisy or like making a mess or making insane animal sounds or something that a parent would be annoyed by. But I bet the parent would be happier than just having their kid like playing Roblox for 6 hours. So
like those goat sounds, like
yeah.
no, the one where they're screaming like that.
Oh yeah, yes, the sound effect. Yes, I can't make that, and I wouldn't try to do that. That would be very unpleasant. But yes, the goat sound. Oh my gosh.
A middle grade book from your childhood that still stays with you.
Sideways Stories from Wayside School, which I mentioned earlier, is huge. My Teacher is an Alien by Bruce Coville is another one that really sticks with me, about kids who realize their new substitute teacher might be an alien. And those are the kind of stories that like were so formative for me and inform what I write now. Like, grounded, but something is weird and it might get a little scary.
One word that captures the heart of Zed Moonstein Makes a Friend.
Heart. Say heart.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Oh, God.
Lance, thank you so much for being on Reading in the Middle. Your storytelling and humor and just shines through every page of this book. And it's just wonderful. And listeners, like I mentioned before, young readers will see themselves in Zed in powerful ways.
Thank you so much, Annisha. No, this was so fun to talk with you about the book, and I love your podcast, and I'm really happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, thanks for joining me, and thank you for giving middle grade readers a story that reminds them that they're not alone.
It's truly my pleasure. Thank you to all you readers that might be listening for continuing to read books and engaging with these middle grade stories that I think are so powerful, and hopefully you do too. I'm not just talking about mine. I mean, middle grade in general.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
That was my conversation with Lance Rubin, author of Zed Moonstein Makes a Friend, a book that is funny, thoughtful, and perfectly tuned to the emotional chaos of middle school. Lance's middle grade book includes Zed Moonstein Makes a Friend and Monster Club, Monsters Take Manhattan, both of which bring humor and absolutely unforgettable characters to readers. You can find more about Lance and his work, middle grade, young adult, and everything in between at lancerubin.com. Thank you so much to Lance for joining me today and for creating characters who are funny, vulnerable, and deeply real, and for reminding all of us that friendships are messy, complicated, and absolutely worth the effort. Thank you for listening to Reading in the Middle. If you enjoyed this podcast, this episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a fellow book lover, or recommend it to a kid who might need a reminder that they're not alone, even when friendship feels confusing. Until next time, keep reading in the middle, where feelings are big, the friendships are complicated, and The books always understand.